guys, it's Danny with the Words Are Matter, here to help us shift our lens of perception for the infinitely more wonderful. In the podcast class that I was taking last week, we were given the prompt to ask our podcast guests what's wrong with the world. And I really contracted around that. I can't think of anything less interesting or inspiring to talk about. And I said, well, how about if we ask our guests what's right with the world? And, one of the teachers was explaining, well, it's so much harder for people to answer that question. Exactly! Because we've been enculturated and indoctrinated to focus on what's wrong, which only functions to fuel, empower, and sustain all that is wrong. Talking about what's wrong is pointless tail chasing. Yes, it might be a little bit more challenging as we're shifting into new earth, into a new paradigm of co-creation, abundance, empowerment, peace, and all those wonderful things. And it's really on us to take those extra steps and to stretch ourselves into focusing our lens of perception on what is right, such that those things can grow and expand. So similarly, I had a session with a client, and she was talking about some issues that she's having with her partner, and she was saying, well, I don't understand what the problem is. I use nonviolent communication, and I always own my experience in saying this doesn't work for me, in saying I don't respond well to this. And yes, that is nonviolent communication, to take ownership and to take responsibility with I statements. That being said, when our I statements are only focusing on what isn't working, what we don't like, then there's not a lot of room or space for our partners to expand into a bigger, better vision co-creation. So what I advise my client, and I invite all of us, is to talk about how we want it to be. This isn't working for me. Here's what does work for me. Here is how I'd like for it to go. Again, take that extra step. It's like a lazy cop-out to talk about what isn't working and what we don't like. Like, that's not really that hard to do. But it's really on us, if we want things to be different, to not expect some savior to swoop in on a Pegasus and wave a magic wand and just make it magically better, whatever that even means. But it's on us to take those extra steps to be like, okay, well, what do solutions look like? How do I want it to go? What would work for me? So I am encouraging you and me and all of us to not get stuck in the this isn't working, I don't like this, because that shapes our lens of perception towards the negative and keeps us stuck there. And I encourage us, great, when we hone in on something that isn't working, beautiful. Take that as a prompt to then take the next step into, well, what would it look like if it was working? What does a solution look like? What is the up-leveled iteration? What am I asking for? Not what am I complaining about or railing against. And this obviously applies to everything in our world. Stop hate, stop poverty. No, amplify unity, stand for empowerment, stand for abundance, wealth for all, right? If I'm anti-poverty, all I'm doing is feeding and fueling poverty and bitching about what isn't working, which is in that kind of lazy space. But when I'm abundance for all, this is what I'm calling for. This is the change that I'm seeing, that I'm claiming, that I'm living into. And it's so much easier to gather support and resources and collaborators about that, because then we all know what we're working for and towards, and then what skills are necessary and how my skills are going to apply toward this better. So this is to encourage you and me and all of us to take these extra steps and to live more in the what's working, what's wonderful, how can we make it better, how can we make it more wonderful, what is the solution, what is going to be more aligned, to take those extra steps as we build New Earth together. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for remembering that everyone matters, that you are omniscopic amazingness. Have a rockin' day. Mwah.